Greetings from Dystopia, episode 97, audio play. I got a couple questions talking about specifically audio field recording. And if I could spend a little bit of time talking about it, sure. What I'll do is I'll take you guys out. I'll bring my new field recorder and I'll set it up on my monopod and just walk around and give you guys a few recordings to give you a sense of space. It's a little bit harder with these microphones on this Tascam because they are forward facing rather than doing an ORTF, an XY, or an AB setup. It's well beyond the scope of this video. They are strictly forward facing. So some of the separation is lost, but it works. I'll sit down with the microphone and the recorder and have it facing away from me, and I will talk to the back of the recorder and slowly turn it around, so you'll hear me progress from one side to the other side and back around. The effect is pretty good with the Tascam. It is 99% of the time always done better with external microphones built in one of those configurations or a binaural mic setup. The idea here is you should have your headphones on right now, if I didn't say that already. We are set up, I did just a quick video of like me standing in the trees, how I would do it. And what I thought I would do is so right now I would be standing behind you if you're wearing headphones. So over here is your left, over here is your right. There's a lot of little things I can do to play on that, right? If I just want to turn over and just talk right in your right ear, then here I am, and you probably heard my stomach just then. So now I'm just talking in your right ear. So I'm going to take and I'm going to turn you around. Now I'm back behind you. Now I'm coming up on your left side from behind you. So that's just the simplest analogy of me moving around you, behind you again. And now we'll bring you all the way back around the front. So now I can lean over and talk in your right ear, or I can lean over and talk in your left ear. The things I was talking about, like with sound going past you, it's a little easier in this type of a configuration to distinguish a side because you don't have to worry about reflected audio. But if I bring my hand up over here, you should be able to see how the timbre of my voice changes, and you get now more of a pronunciation. Although I'm still in your right ear, you can now tell that as far as in a physical space, I am definitely on your right side beyond just talking in your right ear only. You're now hearing the reflected sound that shows you that I am truly on your right side. The ears are on their way from Spain. Once they get here, we'll do a build, and I'll show you roughly the concept of it as I put things together. Essentially, the ears will get mounted into a block. I'm not quite sure yet how I want to configure this. Ideally, I would love to have a felt mannequin head that's solid construction, not hollow. That's down the road. I'll figure something out. Maybe I'll use a couple yoga blocks again and mount the ears into the yoga blocks, because that gives me a solid structure to run the microphones through. The idea behind using the ear is when the spacing is correct, the angle is correct, audio comes into your ear just like it would into the microphone, just like it does into your ear, and it will bounce and run around the cartilage down into your ear. You get far better spatial awareness recording that way. Sounds that come in from the right, say as they pass across you, hits your right ear, the sound continues past, the timbre changes, comes back to your ear. So it's the time delay between right and left. It's the pitch change between right and left. These are the things that allow your brain to go, whoa, where'd that sound come from? But we can talk about all that when we get to that point. Today is just kind of showing you the basic idea of how I would go out and do a field recording. We'll go into some of the rough concepts here in a little bit, and just different ideas, different ways I record. Some of these were, they're techniques that everybody uses. Nothing I do is atypical of anyone else recording audio. It's just that, I got out of that as a hobby for a while and came back to it. Two hobbies I've switched in and out of most of my adult life is photography and field recording. I bounce back and forth between them. I'll stop doing them for a while, and then I'll come back to one, the other, or both. Like right now, both. Fishing is a hobby that never goes away. I quit for years when I was young, but yeah, it's not going away. It's just too zen of a thing to go away, especially fly fishing, fixed line or conventional. It's because there's the entire rhythm of the casting, there's that focus allows you to turn off everything else, but that's not the topic of this episode. All right, let me go out here. I still need to get my walk out, so I will bring you guys with, and we'll set up somewhere and we'll walk through it. See you in a bit. And I wasn't recording. I'm going to set up for a wider shot here, and I'm going to move through this group of trees out in front of us and just kind of show you how I would move around. Maybe I'm hearing one type of bird and I want to kind of focus on that bird. So I may listen to the sound. The advantage, again, of a stereo mic array is it's more precise. I can tell the sound is to my left, so I can turn, dial it in a little bit, and then maybe step behind a tree and see if that cuts that sound that I don't want. Then I can turn back around towards my target. There's much better ways of doing that with either a shotgun, which you've all seen, it's the long microphones, and there's also parabolics, a parabolic dish. Think about like a satellite antenna. A shotgun gives you a focused wide angle beam at a certain distance and rejects side sound, so it focuses a wider beam over an area. Using a parabolic dish, much like your satellite antenna, you're getting a highly focused point of audio to where the microphone is in the dish, whether it's one microphone in, two microphones for stereo, one microphone in but pointed out, which is also another common one that you'll see where the audio comes in, hits the dish, bounces back, so they're actually catching the secondary reflection of the sound. Anyways. So yeah, I'll go out here, I'll set the camera up, and I'll kind of walk around, and then I'll give you guys that recording and the audio following it. I'll see you in a minute. So what can you hear while we're here? Can you hear the mourning dove that's over to your right? How about the vehicle traffic on the new bridge? Can you hear the blue jays? How about the young blue jays over here across the river? There's the vehicles on the bridge. Bring you back around to that mourning dove. So yeah, a couple of the questions that I was asked were, what do you need? What should I buy to start recording sound? A lot of you already have what you need just for basic sound. You can either do, you can use your phone with its built-in microphones. However, turn it into airplane mode first so that incoming calls don't interrupt the recording, the sounds of it communicating with the cell tower. You've all heard that at one time or another. It's that tick, 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 tick sounds that you'll hear over your stereo, or sometimes over your headphones. The wire will pick it up. You can definitely start with a cell phone. There are several different companies making external mics that plug in. For probably a year, all I used was a Blue Mikey from the company Blue. They had a Blue Mikey is what they called it. It was just a little rectangular mesh screen microphone that plugged into the iPhone, into the old wide iPhone. I'm sure they probably still make it for Thunderbolt. The range on that mic is actually pretty damn good. You can start with a simple audio recorder like you use for recording meetings. Keep in mind, some of them are mono, so they only have one channel, one mic. Some of them have two. They have a very narrow field for the mics. If they're two, you'll know if they're close together like this, half an inch or less, then you're going to have a very narrow field of audio. There's little tricks you can do to widen that. Piece of 5mm craft foam, stand it up, cut a notch in it that the end of the recorder will fit in, and you slot it around the microphones. I'm trying to get that where you can see it, but I think you get the concept. What that does is it creates a plate for sound. So sound is delayed from the time it hits this microphone to this microphone, and again, we're going back to that sound variation. I did record some audio to try and show you that. I'll get it in here when I can. This is something that's kind of difficult to do. In concept, it sounded like this was going to be an easy video, but it's actually not. Because really, to explain things, I need a bunch of graphics, and that's something I'm not good at. But hopefully I'm getting the point across, and some of the audio that I'll include today will help. You can get by with a little $40 recorder. Just keep in mind that you're going to have a very narrow headroom for audio, a very narrow range of volume or of decibels that you can record. I'm sure probably a lot of the more inexpensive ones, you might only get 12, 15 decibels of range. I don't know. I haven't looked at them. The Tascam that I have now, this recorder, has almost 100 decibels of headroom. So I have the room to record very low sounds, very high sounds, very loud sounds, very soft, very loud. And I can amplify and still stay within that range. So it allows a lot of post-production audio work to bring up the volume, pump up the volume, so to speak. So yeah, it depends on what you're trying to do. If you're just worried about general sounds like this, almost any recorder will do. But if you're looking to get the subtleties, you need a larger headroom, a wider dynamic range to be able to capture the lowest sounds and the highest sounds in a window that you can work with as far as recording. In playback, it may sound fine to your ear. It just depends on what you're trying to do. General nature sounds, I would probably say a good stereo recorder, probably around the $70 range. It's probably the low end of where you could start. Might not be good for this because you want... So here we're talking about headroom. You can hear me talking. You can also hear the plane. You should still be able to hear the birds. But at some point, the headroom of this microphone and the audio recorder on the camera are going to collide, and it's going to be more difficult to pick something out. This is where the wider dynamic range and the more headroom for recording can make up all the difference. There's a lot of things you have to worry about. Recording outside, there's tons of things you have to deal with. You've got, so like this road behind you guys here, the bridge, you've got a lot of rumbling, low frequency that you may not notice it to your ear, but the microphones are going to hear that as the tires go across the concrete, or vibration in the bridge creates a secondary noise. Just learning your recorder, just play with it around the house, if you buy one, and you'll hear quickly what it records. Wind noise is going to be probably your biggest problem. Like I said earlier, wind noise you can easily combat with a dead cat or a dead mouse. That will only get you so far. You're not going to go out and shoot in a 100-mile-an-hour gale and get good, clean audio unless you're under cover and out of the wind. Basically what you're looking for, and I believe I said this in the audio recording portion, but you can make one at home just with, next time you go try on shoes, when they give you the little pantyhose foot sock, bring that home with you, if they'll let you. You put that over the microphone, so that's this red material, we'll say. This is actually some type of a nylon, it feels like. And then, so put that, I'll turn it this way so I'm not confusing you. Put that over your microphones. So your microphones are hidden in that sock, in that little nylon sock. And then over that you could put another dress sock or an athletic sock. You don't want like winter socks super thick because you're going to lose a lot of high frequency. You're going to lose high frequency sound anyways. You can make that up if you learn to edit. You can add in raise the treble, to put it in a stereo analogy. So yeah, you put the nylon over the microphone, the sock over it, leave a little bit of dead air space on the top. That can work for you and against you. In lighter winds, it acts as a buffer before the sound wave bumps the inner air to generate the sound wave you need to capture audio. If it's too windy or you get sudden gusts, and that sock is on there, it's going to pop over and it's going to bump the nylon. So play with it. You can take a piece of screening of, like I mentioned the other day, the chicken wire type screening, and make a frame that goes all the way around your recorder, around the microphone element, and down just a little bit. Cover the nylon over that, put a piece of foam, some type of like upholstery foam, very thin, and then put the sock over that. Prevents it from bumping and buffeting, and it gives you some structure over the mics to stop the material from hitting the microphone. There's a lot of simple workarounds. This is one from Rycote that's specifically made for this microphone, and at the moment I'm not too impressed with it. I've always been pretty well impressed with Rycote. Obviously my shock mount is a Rycote, but there's some flaws with this one. It doesn't quite give it enough coverage down the body without, there's gaps where wind can actually creep through here. So if you're facing away from the wind, it shoots underneath it. The one I made at home so far seems to be working a lot better, but I'm trying to give the Rycote its fair shake. Yeah, just experiment. It's like anything else that we try to do, whether it's video or audio or photography. Knowing technique is good. Understanding how different things impact the sound, or how lighting impacts a video or a photograph. Movement in the background, how that affects everything, especially on time lapse. Knowing the technique is good, but don't be afraid to experiment. Sometimes the coolest things, if you want to watch something to get ideas for recording audio, if you're a musician, take a look at musicians, how they're sampling sound. It's all done on the vast majority is done on recorders like this. They may be using external phantom powered mics, but they're brought down to a digital recorder and then brought into a digital audio workstation and then edited. The sounds of the lightsabers, they're all, I just noticed this big blue jay was sitting right here and he's just looking right at me as I look over. He's like, yeah, don't be afraid to experiment. Look at how musicians now, how they sample street sounds, how street sounds become background for sounds, for songs. Immediately comes to mind is Neil Diamond, What a Beautiful Noise. Think about the beginning of it. You hear the horns and everything in the city, and then it moves into the song. But sound can set a mood, so think about your intended goal for what you're recording. Is this just to make me chill out? Oh, okay, maybe I'll go deep into the woods and get, sounds of the birds, get the dawn chorus, get out there at about 5 o'clock, just before sun rises. As sun rises, they start to get louder and louder, the chirps, the song. I love a dawn chorus. It doesn't matter whether I'm trying to record audio or shoot video, or I'm just out camping. I love waking up to that sound. I love hearing that sound. When I go to bed at night, I play an audio track called Forest Sounds. And it starts with the bed sounds, the calls that the birds do as it's getting towards dusk. And you've all heard robins do it. If you live anywhere in and around town, you've heard the robins doing that evening call. And then their call is different in the morning, but it plays that type of bird song all night long, and that's what I hear, and it helps me sleep. So there's a lot of tricks you can do with audio, but anyways, I'll edit this down into something that's somewhat logical. Post your questions up. I can answer your questions if we need to, spend a little bit of time stepping through things completely from setup, start to finish, how to record, what levels to look for. I have no problem walking you guys through all of that, so just let me know. All right, we'll see you guys in a little bit. So again, if I didn't answer a question or that spawned another question, the mount is crooked, spawned another question, go ahead and comment. Just let me know. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm doing my damnedest to get a video every day. So far, I've made it every day. Well, technically missed one because the video didn't complete uploading until 12:04 in the morning. But that's okay. It still counts. Anyway. So yeah, technically you got a 2 for 1 day if you want to look at it that way. But yeah, if you got questions, post them up. I'll do the best I can to answer. If it requires another video or, you know, a longer sit down, you can, like I did the Q&A, you can post all your questions and I can answer them all together in a single video. I don't mind answering here and there, but it seems to help people if it's, you know, in relation to the subject. So, post away. 9% battery. Alright guys, that's it. I'll get this back, get it edited, and get it up to you. Be good, be well, and we'll see you tomorrow. Alright guys, bye-bye. Me! Almost out of battery! And yeah, I stopped recording because some clown just drove up, gawking away.